Hello teacher, hello to everyone who's watching this video. This time I am going to provide two examples about assessing grammar and vocabulary. Before I provide my examples, I would like to highlight in 4 points that I consider are important to be aware before assessing grammar, okay? So for instance, in the first point, I would like to give a brief definition about grammar. According to the authors of the book, grammar is about how words change their forms and combine with others to make sentences. If grammar wouldn't exist, uh, the sentences wouldn't be possible because grammar let us um, form the sentences, changing the words, and fixing the tenses according to what we want to say. Okay. In the second point, I have also the importance of grammar. As we may know, the correct use of grammar is the center of the language use because we can make a better use of the language by following the grammar rules properly. Grammar has rules that have to be followed because if we don't follow the rules, then the language wouldn't have any sense. Okay? So it's important to follow the rules properly and also to use the language in a better way. In the third point, grammar should not depend on learning rules and follow them, but using the grammar in different contexts and situations, and also it should be unconsciously. As I told you before, there are some rules that have to be followed, but it's important to learn when to use them, okay? Because grammar, okay, for example, maybe we know the use of the grammar and we can speak like robots using the grammar rules properly, but according to the context, to the situations, to the participants of the conversation, we have to use these rules, okay? Because the rules are used to different situations and also it should be unconsciously. It means that we have to be fluently when we are talking, okay? Finally, and the most important point, is to assess grammar, a context may be provided because the grammar structures and tense will depend on it. So, students will be able to recognize the correct grammar structure. We, as teachers, have to provide the context when we assess. Because if we don't provide the context, the students won't be able to know what grammar are we assessing and what grammar they have to use. Here's the first example about assessing grammar is error recognition items. Okay, in this case, students have to read all the text and look for the errors and also correct them. Okay, in my opinion, this type of assessment is very useful because it may show the possible errors that students could make. So they will be aware of the errors and avoid them in the future. Okay? They will notice the context, they will notice what word to use and what word not to use, and also they will know why. Okay? The second error, and I think this is one of the second error. Sorry, the second assessment example, uh, and I think this is the most useful. And a lot of teachers use this. It's a multiple choice items. As you can see, there are 8 different sentences in which students have to circle or choose the correct answer according to the context and according to the grammar the teacher is assessing. Okay, This type of assessment is very helpful because students have the opportunity to analyze why the answer they choose is correct. Why is it the right one? And why the others are not the right one? Why the others are wrong? In my case, when I used to assess grammar in this way, I also ask students to write or to identify why each option was incorrect, okay? Or also why the option they choose is the right one, okay? Uh, this is something I used to do. Okay, now assessing vocabulary. Here I have highlighted 4 points too that I consider are important. So, according to what I told before in grammar, I have here. On the other hand, the others suggest that the definition of vocabulary is the words that grammar shapes accordingly. Okay, words without grammar only are words in the air. So, grammar can connect the words and also give them a sense. But also, without the words, grammar won't have any sense. Okay? Or maybe it will have sense, but it won't be complete. In the second point, I have written that words are the most important elements of the language because without them, the language wouldn't be possible. There wouldn't be sentences, paragraphs, or texts. So, words are everything in the language, are the most basic elements of the language, and are the most important element because they form the sentences, the paragraphs, the structure, everything. Okay. In the third place, I have that there are many ways to assess vocabulary like recognition, production, word formation, definition, and rearrangement. There are many ways to assess it. Maybe it would depend on the level, on the students, on the course of the group, curriculum, everything. Okay. And finally, I have here a little tip, a little note to have in consideration. To assess vocabulary, teachers have to be aware that words include pronunciation, stress, rhythm, spelling, etc. Okay, so there are many things that we have to be aware before we assess vocabulary. Okay, because maybe if we want, we can only assess spelling or we can only assess pronunciation, but it's important to be clear of that. So when assessing, it's important to include these items in the assessment activity. Maybe we can assess all of them, okay? Here's one example. This example is this activity is used for the lower levels, okay, beginner levels. This is a picture code assessment. This task I have written here, this task assessment may be more useful for beginner levels because it focuses on concrete objects and single words. Also, this task can be used during a diagnostic test in order to know how much vocabulary does the student know. As you can see, there are two different rooms, and here we have like labels because students have to label the things, but there are one word things, okay? It's like a basic activity. And in the second activity, I have the word formation. This is more complex than the previous example. In this activity, students have to be aware of suffixes and prefixes of the words and know when to use them and how and where the words need to be placed in the sentence. Okay, I remember that one of these activities is using the FCE exam in the first certificate of English exam, and it's very important to know when to use it and how to use the words because some words may not, maybe some words may not have the same meaning with the suffixes, and prefixes. So we have to be aware of that. Here is my reference. And finally, I would like to thank you for watching my video.